What's up guys? This video is going to follow on from the last one where I took you through some of the biggest mistakes I made in regards to my nutrition. This one is all about my training. I thought it only makes sense to do one on training since nutrition and training are both equally important, okay? Number one of the biggest mistakes I made was my inability to properly execute exercises. Now, when I started training, this wasn't something I was thinking about. I didn't even understand the concept of placing tension on the working muscle or initiating the movement with the working muscle, whatever it might be. I just went through my workouts and moved the weight from point A to B, not really thinking about how I was doing it and not questioning, was that the best possible rep that I could have done? Was that the best set I could have done, okay? So something like that was really holding me back. Yes, I was shifting a decent amount of weight, especially as you know, the first 3 years of training, I was moving more weight. But the thing was, how I was moving it was not as good as it could have been. And it got to a point where in order for me to see further progress, I needed to perfect the execution of the exercise. Point number two, not following a suitable training program. Now, in my early years of training, I was probably following one of the most basic programs you could follow. It was like 3 sets of 10, doing arm day, back day, chest day, shoulder day, and leg day. If it was done, didn't really train legs. Should have trained legs more. But that's another point. But basically, you need to follow a program which is going to be very specific to you, which is catered to you, to help you to achieve your goals. Okay, that's the problem with generic programs, is that they're generic. Okay, so let's take me for example. When I was training in my early days, my chest was one of my strongest points. My back, rear delts, and legs, particularly hamstrings, they were one of my weakest points. And I wasn't following a program which is going to be specific to targeting those muscle groups. I should really be training them twice per week and doing more volume on those areas, but I wasn't. So it just meant that my strengths were getting stronger because I was training them the same amount of my weaknesses, and my weaknesses weren't really improving whatsoever. And the same goes for a lot of guys out there that are following generic programs, people who are trying to, maximize how big they can get, but they're following a strength-focused training program. And for people who are looking to get stronger, you're following a hypertrophy-based training program. You have to follow a specific program which is going to help you to achieve your goals, okay? Not someone else's goals, your goals. Number three, following the same program for too long. Now, I have to admit, my first 3 years of training, the program I was following didn't really change that much. I was doing the same thing over and over again. I didn't understand the concept of changing up the sets and the reps and changing the tempo and alternating between different phases of rest periods. And all those different stimuluses I was not doing. I was not alternating between the two. I wasn't changing up between high volume work, low volume work. I wasn't focusing upon my strength. I was literally doing the same thing over and over and over again. And yes, I was seeing results from doing that, but after a while, undoubtedly my body was getting very adapted to the stress that I was placing upon it. So although I was in a position where I was kind of maintaining a good physique, I was not taking it to the next level. Moving on to point number four, staying within my comfort zone. Now this applies to a hell of a lot of people out there as well. When you start training, you don't really have anything to compare it against, okay? You think you train hard, but there's always another level which you can go. And this was true for me when I started training. After I get comfortable with my sessions and everything, I was able to push myself more. And you kind of realize like, oh, that was a good session. And your intensity hopefully should progress over time. But after a while, you kind of get stuck in the same routine of doing the same thing over and over again. And you're just like, yeah, that was good, that was intense, yeah. And you don't really push yourself to what you're truly capable of doing. And this is very, very hard for a lot of people, and for myself, to discover that there is another level. There is a more intense level which you can reach, which can take your physique to a whole other level. And for me, it really kind of stood out when I started training with different people. So I had a couple of coaches or a few mentors who would take me through a session, but it was when I trained with other guys within the fitness industry who just had this crazy work ethic. And I would do like a leg session with them, for example, and I'd just be like, whoa, this is like nothing I've ever trained like before. I was absolutely gassed to the point where I wanted to be sick. But after having a session like that, you're like, well, that's the level I need to kind of keep at. I can't, if I just keep training like that, I'm not really going to progress any further. I need to step my game up. I need to set the bar high to push myself, to consistently push myself to this level in order to see continued progress and take my physique to the next level. Number 5, excessive high volume training. Now, the definition of high volume training is in the description. But basically, when I started training, I noticed that when I was doing some high volume work, which would mean, shorter rest periods, higher number of reps, supersets, just basically doing more work within sessions was giving me, a really good pump. And I was getting sore after. I thought, this is the only way to train. Just kill yourself within the sessions and try and do as much work as possible. That is the way to getting bigger. Which in a sense, yes, high volume training does play its part, particularly if you're resting loads and you're eating a lot. But if you do it for too long, you're eventually going to see some diminishing gains. You can go to the point where you overdo it, you do too much work, and you actually take a step backwards. Number 6, the final point, not resting enough. Not having enough days off, okay? When I get myself into a very good routine, and I'm building up good habits, and I'm training, or I'm doing something almost every day, it feels very weird for me to have a day off. I don't like having a day off, okay? It feels like my day is incomplete. But the problem is, you need to have time off. You need to give your body time to rest. And the problem was, I didn't realize that when I would be training like 7 days in a row, 10 days in a row, and it was getting to the point, near the end of the week or on like the 10th day, I'd just feel like shit. Motivation would be low, I'd have no pumps, and my body wasn't really changing. In some cases, my body was actually looking worse, and I just didn't understand why. And it got to the point where I was almost having flu-like symptoms, blocked nose, just looking like death. And that was because I was just simply overdoing it. I was killing myself. I was putting so much stress on my central nervous system. This was when I was doing a lot of high volume work as well. And it's not sustainable. You have to really give your body time to rest, because a lot of the rest and recovery is taking place when you're not at the gym. And this was particularly the case when I was going through phases of my life where I wasn't getting enough sleep. I was stressing out about work or money or exams. I was in an environment which wasn't suitable for me doing lots of training, and I wasn't eating enough. And when you're in that environment and you're trying to keep up that training regime, on a daily basis, high volume work, you're gonna feel like utter crap, and it's just not sustainable. So you do have to understand the importance of just having a rest, okay? How much rest you have is completely dependent upon each individual, but that's probably gonna be another video. So there we have it. They're the 6 points which I thought of stand out to me the most, which has potentially held me back a little bit over my training career, but I think I've got most of them nailed now. Hopefully this is going to help you guys out a little bit and prevent you from making the mistakes which I've made. So, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you soon.